California snowpack reaches 250%. Reservoirs begin to fill from recent storms. The first snowpack and reservoir measurements following the latest record-setting atmospheric river events in California have been found to be much higher than expected, with many drought-ravaged areas across the state now either approaching normalcy or even going above pre-drought averages. Before the storms came in late last year, California was still in severe drought statewide. Reservoirs across the state had been at under 30% capacity, with snowpack levels expected to top out at now more than around 160%, before dropping significantly down to under 50% by April 1st like previous years. Weather experts predicted that while the drought would be eased somewhat in the spring, that California would still be at mega-drought levels. However, those projections have been radically altered by the near-constant bomb cyclone storms that have struck California in the last 3 weeks. On January 5th, snowpack levels had already reached a 40-year high with 174% of the average in the Sierra Nevadas, with reservoir levels slowly beginning to rise above the 30% capacity marks following dry land being fully recharged with water. On January 11th, snowpack had reached over 200%, while reservoirs across the state all began going above the 38% average being reported across the state last year, including the Don Pedro Reservoir being at 97% its normal January level, with Shasta coming in at 67%. Oroville at 85%, New Melones at 59%, and Trinity at 42%. Southern California reservoirs also saw large upticks as well.